Yeah, my name is Hisham.
Hi, Hisham.
I am the Moroccan infidel.
Ah, Moroccan infidel.
That's my name in Arabic. That's Kafir Maghribi. That's
Yeah, Kafir Maghrib, but Moroccan infidel seems like a good movie title.
exactly. It does. Good, good. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you in person and talk to you.
It's mine.
Yeah, it's great. So, first of all, I wasn't home, so I'm sorry that I saw you called me around 10.
I had my mistake because I thought it was 10. But I'm
Okay, I
getting
see.
old, so no problem.
Okay,
It was
yeah,
11.
because I don't use my smartphone, so I only use my
Okay.
computer. So if I'm not in front of my computer, so I'm not
Okay.
there.
No problem. No problem.
All right, great. I'm happy to be with you today. I'm going to just introduce you to people who
Okay.
don't know you.
Okay.
Tarek Fatah is a Canadian political activist. He's a writer, broadcaster. He's a columnist for the Toronto Sun. He's the founder of the Muslim Canadian Congress. He advocates a progressive form of Islam and the separation of religion and state.
That's more than enough.
Great. I'm sure there's more to say, but I hope we're gonna come to it
Okay.
during our conversation. When I heard your name the first time, to be honest with you, I thought you were an Arab.
Yeah, many people do, but the word Tarek
Yes.
comes from Sanskrit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's one of those words in Arabic that have the root in Hind, and the words sitara, tara, tarek, tarak, they're all rooted like the early morning star.
Okay, so that's the meaning too in Hindi. What is the meaning?
In Sanskrit, it would be close to that, but of course in Arabic it means the star, early morning star.
Yeah.
Or in the Persian version is sitara or tara, which is also the same thing.
Okay, so they have the same root.
Yes.
Okay, great. So when I looked you up, then I heard you talking in a show about how non-Arab Muslims often give their kids Arabic names.
Yes.
But you didn't say, or you didn't mention why you think they do that.
I think, and this is only in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh. And if you go to, say, Turkey or Iran,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You will have, or Indonesia, you will have indigenous names like Suharto or Erdogan.
Yeah.
These are names. But in our part of the world, the notion as to who is a son or descendant or daughter of the invading Arabs is a source of pride. And that is why there is such a dysfunction.
Wow.
That Muslims in India and Pakistan take more pride into who invaded them rather than those who defended them.
Is that a Stockholm syndrome, or what is it?
I think it is worse than that. I think it is a Saudi Arabia syndrome.
Oh my gosh. I was thinking more about maybe it's a common thing among converts too. Even European converts, they change their names to Arabic names. Maybe it gives them a sense of belonging more to the religion.
Possibly, but there is no tradition in Islam for changing names.
Yeah, there is none. Yeah, that's true.
None. The Ali is Ali and Usman is Usman. And,
yeah.
And Hamza is Hamza. Yeah. Nobody changed their name.
That's true.
But and everybody is a convert in Islam.
That's true.
All the first Muslims were converts from paganism to Islam, or what I would call the Arab version of Judaism, which is what Islam is. Judaism planted on Arab pagan culture.
Yeah, it has a lot of Judaism. That's
Everything
true.
else is the same, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Um, could it be that Arabic is just the language of Islam, and people wanna have an Arabic name, so it makes them
that
feel
could
better?
possibly be. However, it then falls into the problem of Arab racism of the Ibn Taymiyyah type against non-Arabs. Like Ibn Taymiyyah said, if a non-Arab thinks he is equal to an Arab, that is a sin. And this is especially true after the fall of Baghdad in 1258.
Yeah.
The Arabs lost sovereignty. And Ibn Taymiyyah said, you don't need sovereignty. You are the best of people.
Yeah, and the best of the Arabs are the Quraysh Arabs. They're the best.
Yeah, well, and best of the Quraysh are Banu Hashim. You know?
Yeah, and the Khalifa needs to be from Quraysh, or has a connection to Quraysh at least.
For 800 years, this did not happen when Muhammad was alive.
Yeah.
The day he died, that's the day Umar came up with this theory that the Ansar cannot be the leaders because the Quraysh are the rulers and the Ansar are the servers. Now the Ansar were the people of Medina and the interior,
yes.
who were the majority of Muslims. So very early on, the Banu Hashim and the Quraysh established their authority on what is holy and what is not. So even the Banu Umayyah, the Umayyad dynasty, is from the enemies of Prophet Muhammad.
That's true, yeah.
You know, Muawiyah is the son of
Abu Sufyan.
Yeah, Abu Sufyan.
Yeah.
So all the Sharia that we find today is written by the sons of Abu Sufyan. So we killed Ali, we killed Usman, we killed Umar.
Yeah,
we killed everybody.
They ruled for a long time, and it became a they changed the whole political system.
Absolutely, like if you read about, and then the Umayyads had to pay when Abu Musa or the Khurasanis came. They killed every one of the Umayyads, except I think Abdul Rahman, who then ran away to Spain. Everybody was killed in Damascus.
Yeah. Right after the death of the Prophet, the Sahaba killed each other. It was insane.
What we call the war of apostasy.
Yeah, Hurub al-Ridda. Yeah.
Yeah, and first within a year, they had already declared half the Muslim community as murtad.
Apostate.
And Khalid ibn Walid was cutting off people's head and cooking. He made
the famous story
out of the skull, and Ali went to Abu Bakr saying, "What is Khalid doing?"
Yeah.
So, Allah yalla habibi, yani. Malish.
Malish.
Let them enjoy. It is war.
I always wondered, and I think you're the best to give me an honest answer, because when I used to ask fellow Muslim brothers, no sisters, unfortunately.
No,
when I used to, when I used to ask them this question, I never felt they've been truthful with me, since I'm originally from an Arabic-speaking region.
Yeah.
How do non-Arab Muslims feel about the Arab domination over their faith?
It is let me put this way. I lived 10 years in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, wow.
And I can tell you one thing, that for example, the Saudis or the Bedouin, the working class Saudi, even some in the leading business houses, are amazing people. I'm serious. Absolutely wonderful people to talk to, sit up. I was, part of when I was a student, I was part of the Popular Front. I worked very closely with the Palestinians. They had absolutely amazing company, and especially the Egyptians. You give them one opportunity and they will laugh and laugh. But when it comes to being religious, even the Marxist becomes crazy.
Oh.
And I can't understand that. I've discussed with Palestinians that sure, you need a Palestinian state, but you have to recognize that it is the Arabs who attacked Jerusalem. It is not that the Jews came to attack Mecca.
Exactly.
Jerusalem was not an Arab city, and it wasn't. The Prophet never went there. He traveled there, but he didn't say you have to conquer him. The whole notion of Masjid Aqsa, the other mosque, you can say that about anything.
That's true.
Delhi Mosque or the House of Commons in London. You can put anything.
There was no mosque anyway. I mean, at the time of the Prophet, at the time of the vision, you're talking about Isra and Mi'raj. There was no Masjid Aqsa in Jerusalem.
I know, but how do you convince? How do you convince people that your national right to a state doesn't have something to do with religion? You're Palestinians, you deserve a state. Whether it's on the West Bank, whether it is Jordan, whether it is Gaza, whatever it is. But you cannot build a temple on top of the holiest Jewish site and then say, this is our place. It's the same we Muslims did in Damascus. The Umayyad Mosque over there. We did this in Istanbul.
In Turkey.
Constantinople, Hagia Sophia. We did that in India at the Ram Temple, the Babri Mosque. We've done that so many places, but surely as a collective consciousness, educated Muslim will say, the Quran says don't do this, but we did it.
Well, there are different interpretations. I mean, if you ask
that's what I want to come to. What we have ended up is that we've allowed the hadith to interpret the Quran, and the hadith was written 200 years after the Quran's last verse was, today I've completed your faith for you. Whether you believe it is a revelation or not is besides the point. My point is that we know that the last page, the first word is Iqra and the last word is, today we have completed your faith for you. And 90% of the Sharia is written after God supposedly said, I've completed everything. How is that rationally possible? That you would take what is written afterwards to explain what is written before?
Well, it's true. It's true for the Hadith, because Hadith was written way later. But I mean, we still have the Quran and the verses.
That is fine.
Yes, and I think that's the main issue, because we have different interpretations. So these people who think jihad, the other kind of jihad, because there are two jihads in Islam. There's jihad al-dafa, where you protect yourself, and there's the jihad of invasion, like you invade other countries. So jihad al-talab, if you ask these people, they give you verses in the Quran, they give you the interpretation of the Sahaba who interpreted the verses the way they understand them. So they're not, they have something, but people
I understand, but my point is that when you are using words that are, let's start from the basic belief that what came in the Quran was a revelation from God to Muhammad, right? This is the Muslim belief.
The Muslim belief, that's it.
Right. Nothing else came from the top, right? And we are using what did not come to interpret which we believe did come. That's upside down. You see, if not only that the hadith was written 200 years later, the Sirah, which is the defining book of Islam, the biography of the Prophet, that was written even later.
Yeah, but the Sira is different though. Like
It is only through the Sirah
yeah.
that you validate the Hadith. And from the Hadith, then you validate the Quran. It is going in reverse order.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't base the Sharia law is not based on Sira though. I mean, maybe they use it for reference, but it's not based. Yeah.
To justify, bear me out, Hisham.
Sure.
I don't want to be sort of sound impolite, but
No,
I'm
go ahead.
60,
No worries.
I'm 68, so I'm in a hurry.
Yeah. Take your time.
So first Abu Sufyan's boys write the Sharia, right? There is no Hadith yet.
Okay.
Nothing written. We've made the law. Then when somebody says, where did this law come from? We say, oh, this is from the Hadith. Where is the Hadith? No problem. We'll write the Hadith. Then the Hadith is written. Then you say, well, where did the Hadith come from? Oh, no problem. It comes from the biography of the Prophet. Where is the biography? No problem. We'll write the biography. It's in reverse order.
Yeah,
it cannot
always go back to, yeah.
You cannot do reverse engineering for something that has not been made. Reverse engineering is done. Something is there. How do we do it? These guys made Islam into a kingdom, a hierarchy, and with hundreds of wives and sex slaves and prisoners and everything. Now, when you ask them about specifics of the Quranic verses, the most straightforward of the Muslim, the orthodox, maybe the honest ones say, well, it is specific to this particular time. Okay, that's what they say, right? That, oh, this is for that particular battle.
Well, that's what the reformers say.
No, even the orthodox ones say. They don't say that this is for all times. You bring anyone.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that, because people who really need or want Sharia to be applied, they say that Quran and Sharia is good for all time.
Yeah, I understand, but if you read George Orwell's 1984, he talks about double speak and double think. That at the same time, the person who is lying believes that he is speaking the truth. Or when he's speaking truthfully, he can switch both sides. So many of the mullahs of the Muslim Brotherhood, when they are confronted in a non-Muslim environment, when the microphone is on and the camera is on, they will say, oh, yes, of course, but this was for a specific period.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree.
Alhamdulillah, I accept that. Then what I'm asking is, put that in a footnote at the bottom. The above is not applicable. Polygamy, not applicable. Jihad, not applicable anymore. Fine. Don't say one thing to the Masjid Jummah khutbah and say another thing when you're on CNN.
Oh yeah, I see them on CNN, and it's confusing. I mean, how
can you imagine if it is confusing for you and me? How confusing it is to someone like what's this guy's name, Trump?
I think Trump is confused by nature.
No, the French president spent 30,000 pounds sterling for makeup. How is he going to understand the crooks that are living in Switzerland and Paris and Brussels and the ISIS guys and the the Ikhwan al-Muslimin and Jamaat Islami and Taliban and Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab? We are one ummah, but 50 killers.
Well, we're still having the issue with the Quran verses, because there are Quran verses that seem to be inhuman, that seem to be immoral. Is it? And you're saying it's applicable in the time and the place, but was it really applicable? I mean, if you're talking about slavery, if you're talking about polygamy, if you're talking about this, the punishment for certain things, was it okay at the time?
No, no. Here, let me put it this way: we're talking on the Christian era. We have very well entrenched Catholicism around, or Eastern Orthodox Christianity.
Yes.
There is no concept of polygamy over there. However, you do have the question of slave ownership, very widespread, right across the world, at different levels. And unfortunately, it was always the blacks who ended up as the most oppressed of the slave class. So we still see in Saudi Arabia large segments of the population that are black. Even in Pakistan today, we have African people in India as well. The point is that for its time, everybody is doing the same thing. Whether they are taking slaves or whether they are fighting, whether the mode of war. But Arabia in itself is a very backward society for the simple reason it's the only place in the 7th century that doesn't have a ruler, doesn't have a country, doesn't have a kingdom. Muslims don't ever think about it. You go to Damascus, well, the Greek Orthodox are there, or the Byzantines there. In Persia, the Zoroastrians are there. In India, the Gupta dynasty of India had just finished in the 6th century. And we are saying that they were the Johala. Yeah. Somebody's got to be pretty stupid to say that the Chinese or the Indian civilizations were, or the Persians or the Greeks or Aristotle and Socrates, these were Johala? No. But within Arabia, where there is no ruler, no country, no law, no book, you also have to understand that the first book of the Arabs has not been written till the years 600s. And you have, on the other hand, the Vedas that were written 5,000 years ago.
Oh yeah, that's much older.
So we have literature coming out of, even China to a large degree got influenced by Buddhism, right up to Japan. And Buddha had an amazing impact on human wisdom and learning, which is rooted in Hinduism. But to deny that and say that, no, it was the time of the Johala and we came with civilization. Well, you did come for civilization around the area where there was no water, where there was no buffaloes, where there were no, jungles, where the poetry did not talk about vines or forests. It was a desert climate. So if Islam had grown, for example, in the Nile Delta, it would have taken a different shape. If it had originated in Damascus, it would have been of a different context.
Yeah. We see it in Spain. I mean, when they went to Spain, was
everybody was having a party in Spain.
And we don't see what happened in Spain didn't happen in Saudi Arabia. That's the weird thing. Everything you see in Spain, you don't see anything similar in Saudi Arabia, even though that's the source of everything.
I know.
Yeah.
And look at the number of atheists within Islam.
Oh yeah.
Ibn Rushd, you talk of Kindi, Mansur Halaj, for example.
Yes.
These people were talking about stuff that nobody, like in the 9th and 10th century, which was remarkable. And all the rulers could do was kill people. So there is immense thought. We cannot dismiss Islam from our heritage. My point with many of my friends who become ex-Muslim is very simple. You're leaving the goalpost and running away.
What are we leaving? Sorry.
If you're playing soccer, and the goalkeeper walks away, what do I do as a forward? I cannot match. I look behind and the goalkeeper is gone.
That's a nice example.
What I mean is,
yes,
you cannot cannot deny your mother's religion. There's
No,
enough
I mean,
heritage that has come to us.
yeah, we're still. I mean, I'm an atheist, but I'm culturally, I'm still a Muslim. I mean,
That's my
it's just the
point.
way it
That's the
is.
point.
Yeah, you can't
There
deny
is
that.
much.
Yeah.
There is much to feel critical about it. There is much to enjoy about it.
Oh yeah, yes.
There is
In all religions.
poetry,
Yeah,
Arabic poetry that is unbelievably erotic.
that's true. That's true.
The Hafiz and these poets who were gay friendly, for example,
Oh yeah.
there is so much. There's so much wine, women, song, everything, traveling. So,
just to go back to the term jahiliyyah,
yes.
Jahiliyyah, well, if you ask people who are more like involved in terms and what they mean, well, jahiliyyah means they didn't know about Islam. It doesn't mean that they're ignorance or that they're
okay,
on a,
fair enough.
yeah, that's what they say. It's not an insult, or just they didn't know. They were ignorant about Islam, so that's their jahl.
Yes, but here's the point. The Jews were not ignorant about monotheism because we took everything from Judaism. How could we call them ignorant?
Yeah,
they believe in the same God.
I think they mean it in a time, it's just time-wise. They say everything before Islam was ignorance of Islam, and after Islam is, yeah, we know about Islam. That's what they, how they interpret it.
Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but in our context, the word jahil, I don't know how it is used in Arabic, but in the derivative languages like, say, Urdu, jahil means somebody who's unread.
Yes, exactly. Well, it means the same in Arabic. It you can interpret it the other way too.
Yes,
like, you're ignorant about Japanese. You know, it doesn't mean you're
not, but we use it in a negative sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, you can use it, and even people understand it in the sense you explain.
I'll give you another example. For all the leftists in the Arab world call each other Ya Rafiq.
Yes.
But in Saudi Arabia, it is a slur. It is a racist insult to Pakistanis.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Ya Rafiq means you piece of crap.
Oh, really?
Initially, I thought, how do they know I'm...
Oh.
Then I know, he's insulting me.
Oh, gosh. I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
No. Come on, clean the street.
How do I mean, you have Indian Muslims, you have Pakistani Muslims, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Lots of them work in Saudi Arabia or work in Gulf countries.
Yeah.
How do you explain how they deal with them there? Because it looks to me, at least from outside, it looks like slavery.
Well, look, in the UAE, which is the Emirates, it is not as bad as it was, as it is in Saudi Arabia. Because of the Iqama system, you cannot... The world's worst human rights societies are based in the Jazira al-Arab, that entire Kuwait to the south of Saudi Arabia. It is for somebody who's unlucky to be in a working class job, it's terrible. And these are, you have to understand that India, after 1,000 years of Islamic and British rule, was made empty of all its resources, conditioning, and the poverty levels in rural parts of that of both India and Pakistan are such that, and the population explosion, that there is a natural connection in economic terms to people coming to work there. In Qatar, for example, if people die on the construction site, the contractors are told not to stop because of the World Cup coming in. It's pretty bad, I would say.
Yeah, that's how it looks like. I mean, I can imagine.
It is, and it's not just Pakistanis. The Somalis and the African Muslims who come there are referred to as Ya Abdi in conversation.
Oh, wow.
I remember I used to work for a fairly decent company in Saudi Arabia, and we would have these, you know, the microphone where you could go, talk to the kitchen and ask people, the coffee guy to bring coffee.
Yeah.
And people would often say, Ya Abdi, ta'al hina, itnin kahwa, you know.
Wow.
And
do they say it in a
just microphone?
Do they say it in a like just for fun, or is it?
No,
they mean it.
The people, Ya Abdi, nam ya sheikh.
Wow.
It's horrible.
It's brutal.
It's brutal. I mean, in Egypt, there is a wonderful Egyptian writer, Mona Al-Tahawi. I don't know, she's got this red hair. Sometimes she goes crazy, but she's wonderful. I love her. She wrote an article about Nubians traveling in an Egyptian train, and the Egyptian kids would go and touch the woman's skin and tease her about her black skin. This is in Egypt.
Yeah. Yeah, so, unfortunately, I mean, we have this racism too in Morocco too, where I come from. We still have that.
With the Berbers as well. Yeah. Those who are considered not Arab, and some are, you know.
I am a Amazigh, actually. That's the name.
For you.
And most of Moroccans are not Arabs. Most of them.
I know.
Yeah. The Arabs came to Morocco.
You do know the very rich history of the Berbers during Second World War in Paris.
Yes, yes.
How they saved thousands of Jewish kids.
Oh, great.
And made them escape. It's a beautiful part of Berber history that you should pick up.
I will 100%.
A lot of courage shown. Because it was a mosque, they would make sure that the Nazis would have to take off their shoes to come in. and when the children were hiding inside, because they were circumcised, the community said, these are our children.
Yeah.
And in the graveyard in the mosque, the stones were chiseled out to give these kids their names. And then they were smuggled out in what is called drums that were supposed to be full of wine. And they escaped from there.
Amazing, amazing. I need to look up this story.
Yeah, absolutely. And the language, nobody could understand, so nobody was cracking the code. So most of the underground work in occupied France, the notes written by the Berbers were not readable.
Let's talk about a serious issue here. You received serious death threats from ISIS, right?
ISIS sent killers as well.
The ISIS sent killers
to India.
They're looking for you.
They're looking for you.
Can you tell us why first of all they did that, and what you did, and what you're probably still doing to protect yourself?
Well, I'm doing nothing to begin with. Second question, I do nothing to protect myself because I know from statistics, I'm a graduate in statistics, that I've never heard of a bodyguard that was ever killed. So when you have any security, it's a guarantee somebody will hit you. So, you think JFK's bodyguards got killed? No. If Taslima Nasreen has bodyguards, it means she will suffer, not the bodyguards.
That's an optimist way to look at it.
Yeah, so I go out and I'm a fatalist like any other Muslim. Alhamdulillah, whatever will happen, will happen. But what I was doing in India was hosting a television show that was called Fatah Ka Fatwa.
Yes.
means fatwa means fatwa, you know. And in the show, we restricted the guests to only Muslims, and we would discuss purely Muslim community issues. For example, polygamy or child marriage or halala or muta or urfi marriage or inheritance laws or this notion of who is Ashrafi Musliman versus who is Azlaf. That means who is coming with Arab blood in them and who is a convert Hindu.
Okay,
you
so
know,
the Ashraf is the noble one. The
noble one. I am like an I'll come on an elephant.
High class Muslim, yeah.
Somebody like me, he will follow in a donkey. They really believed it.
Oh my gosh.
So we would have very animated discussion.
Yeah.
And the mullahs, I in the very first few programs, I said I distinguish between the Islam of the mullahs versus the Islam of the Allah. And I asked these guys, I said, the first companions of Muhammad became Muslim, no Quran. So how did they become Muslim? Does it mean I don't even need the Quran to be Muslim? Because in the end, it's primarily the notion of Tawheed, which distinguishes between a Muslim and a non-Muslim is his or her belief that you will submit only to the Creator and no man. And these guys would say, what do you mean? I said, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Abu Bakr became Muslim, there was no Quran.
They didn't like it, of course.
No, they became quite serious.
Yeah, of course, 100%. I can imagine. I mean, if I was a Muslim, I would be offended too.
Yeah, but we had 20 shows like this, and it was being seen by about 100 million people around the world.
That's crazy. Yeah,
and this was the first time ever that Muslims were discussing with Muslims. Women were there, women who were very pro-Islamist, women who were very secular, mullahs who were, had 3 wives, and Shias and Sunnis and Ahmadis. Like the whole mixture was going on, and it was sort of free for all. And we said, whatever you have to say, you can say. But they had nothing to say. So they would get upset. One guy even said, what are you talking about? Your daughter is married to a Jew.
Oh,
and
gosh.
no, your daughter is not even married, but has children from Jews. And for a minute, I said, my daughter should have children. She's not married to a Jew. But like, how do people say this on television?
Well, it's the personal attacks. That's all that they have.
It's always about sex. It's always about vaginas.
Yeah, they're obsessed. Yeah.
Sex and women, raping and sodomy. Either they are slaughtering animals like they're doing today, By the way,
you're obviously not celebrating, even though you have the color of blood.
No, but it is Eid today, so not to worry. Millions of goats will die because we are sacrificing animals. Anyway, one of them I suggested, why don't we smash iPhones instead of cutting the throat of goats?
No. I think God doesn't like iPhones.
No, if you're saying, I have to sacrifice something precious,
yeah.
A goat is not precious. You bought it from the market. The next day you cut it up.
Yeah, but at least you have something to eat.
Well, eat your bloody TV sets. Smash it up. Then I'll see how much you want to sacrifice to Allah. They won't want to sacrifice anything. They just want to eat and go to sleep. That's why in Ramadan every Muslim becomes fat.
Well, some Moroccans in Morocco, they borrow money to buy the udhiyah. It's insane. Or they ask for sadaqah.
And if you can't do it, your social status in society falls.
Yeah, it shows that you're poor, and yeah, that's true.
How can you do this? And it doesn't say in the Quran anywhere to cut a goat.
I mean, even if you go by what we have in texts, in all religious texts, it's a sunnah. At the end, it's a sunnah.
It's not in the Quran.
No, it's not in the Quran, of course. But I mean, it
is in the Jewish text.
If you don't do it, it's not bad.
In the Talmud said, "Khalas, no more cutting of goats," you know.
But you know why they focus on it? Because it's meat. They want to eat meat. So it's if it was something else, they wouldn't care for it. Like Salah, the first prayer in the early morning. Nobody. Well, most of Muslims, they don't do it because it's just too early. You just sleep. Even though it's more, it's more important than.
You have to change your diet a little bit, you know. You can't sacrifice animals to please God. How can you kill animals and then say, I'm pleasing God?
Well, again, they go back to the scripture, and scripture, it states that...
Even the scripture says that in his dream, they changed from his son to the lamb.
Yeah,
it is all metaphorical. Nothing happened. You think that Abraham cut a knife through, the Jews say Isaac and we say Ishmael, which is another story.
It's a whole other story. It's going to take us hours to discuss. It's insane.
Yeah, the children of Ishmael.
It needs a PhD thesis, I think.
Unbelievable. There's a lot of work to be done. That is why I say to these ex-Muslims, you walked away from the goalpost.
You mentioned your successful TV show in India, Fatah Ka Fatwa.
Yes.
Fatwa, I understand, and so there is your name and the fatwa. Are you giving fatwas? What's the deal here?
It is it's the fatwa by Tarek Fatah.
Okay, so you're giving fatwa, or just
tongue-in-cheek sarcasm in the title, saying that even I can, because fatwa is an opinion.
Exactly. So you're just giving your
so I was playing on that. That's my opinion.
That's great.
So what is your opinion?
Yeah, but
you see, Isham, we need a lot of laughter.
Oh yeah,
and comedy in our lives.
Yeah.
Because at the rate at which we are going, if we can't laugh at our own stupidities, somebody else is going to laugh.
Yeah, 100%.
Rather, we come up and say, what? We just stoned a stone?
Yeah.
We hit a stone with a stone?
Oh yeah, you have to hit it hard sometimes. In order to kill the devil, you have to hit hard.
And there are three devils? I thought there was one. It's a sahir.
Yeah, you saw the video of the guy who's running and then throwing the stone? Like he was mad.
Playing cricket.
Yeah, it's like cricket, exactly. I think he was a cricket player.
I've done Hajj twice. And in first time I went there in 78, I saw something very strange. Yeah. This is a guy who's a Pashtun from Pakistan. He had a gas stove. You know, the one you pump.
The small ones, yeah. Yeah.
So he loaded it. He had the flame coming out. Then he like threw it like a hand grenade onto this big Satan. And then he started abusing him in Pashtun.
Oh my gosh.
It was so funny. He said, come on, give me your best shot. Come on. He said, take it easy, man. There's nobody going to come from here. Satan must have said, what is this crazy guy?
I think Satan left. That's it, left. He went somewhere else.
Oh my
Satan is in the White House now.
Oh, well, he's a dumb Satan.
He is. Let's talk a little bit about sharia, which seems one of your favorite topics.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm like I told you, I'm an ex-Muslim, and in my case, and probably the case of most apostates.
Yes, a lot of people,
Lots
far
of them.
more
Yeah,
than
most of
people imagine.
Yeah. Well, in my case, in the case of most of apostates, Sharia played a huge role in our decision to leave Islam.
Yeah.
What?
Actually, I left Sharia.
Yeah, you did. You left Sharia. We did too. We're still talking about it, but what are your main reasons? Well, despite all the history, the background, whatever, just the content. What are your main reasons for opposing Sharia?
Well, there's a very simple reason that law, by its very nature, is crafted in the nation state so that the law can be changed by subsequent generations.
Mm.
That's the framework of how the nation state has existed since, I would say, the early 20th century. You know, just prior to the First World War, when, you know, and at a time when the Ottoman Caliphate was collapsing, the nation state started having parliaments. In case of Britain, it goes back
much
to
older,
the century. The French Revolution, the American Revolution, the Canadian example, the Italian coming together of the Prussian states, they all came together as countries. Even China, multiple kingdoms came together, or Japan. And there was one common factor, that all of us will be governed by laws that can be changed, whether it's by parliament, whether it's by a dictator, whether it is by a king, because not every country was a democracy at that stage. If that is the present tense, 20th century, the previous 2000 years was the law, was the existence of arbitrary law, which means I look in the sky and I say, thou shalt not kill. Do you think we need 10 commandments to say thou shalt not kill? No, that makes common sense.
It's common sense, yeah.
Right? But the 10 commandments cannot be abridged like Windows 95 to Windows NT, or, you know, there's no new version. But law of today cannot be law if there's a cap on its subsequent renewal by my children or their children, right?
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then that outlaws all supposed laws that are divine. So if there's a law that can't be changed, it's illegal.
Okay, Sharia is illegal.
So Sharia is illegal. Sharia is in direct conflict with the nation state. Sharia cannot exist in today's day and age because we have international law that governs us. And the one law that governs all laws is the United Nations Declaration of Fundamental Universal Human Rights of 1948. That every country in the world is a signatory to, I think, other than Saudi Arabia. That too was amended in 1972 in the Helsinki Accords, where at that time Soviet Union put some economic rights over there. So when we have a universal declaration of human rights, which every country of the world signs, then that is a direct rejection of the laws written in the 7th century. Yes, essentially from 650 to 740 is when the Umayyad. Within those 90 years, we developed Sharia.
How do you explain, though, that most Muslims, if you ask the question, they're for Sharia laws, even Muslims who live in Europe?
They don't know what is Sharia law. It's a defensive mechanism. It's like a reflex. You know, when you go to the doctor and he hits you on your knee, and without even attempting anything, your foot goes up.
Because if you don't say, I am for Sharia, so you're not a Muslim, or you're an apostate.
No, I don't think they give that much depth to it.
Oh, really?
Look, Hisham, I don't know of a single Muslim who has read the Quran in its chronological order.
Yeah.
So Allah, as Muslims claim, revealed the Quran in a certain manner where the first words were Iqra. Read in the name of the Lord who created you, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did we do? We took that and put it somewhere in the middle and made the first as Surah Fatiha. And it obviously means it cannot be Surah Fatiha because the name was given later on. And even Surah Fatiha is divided into 2 separate verses. And in that, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Maliki Yawmiddin, we determined that the Jews and Christians have to be mocked.
Yeah. No.
We made reading Surah Fatiha as the central pillar of Islam.
Yeah.
And took Iqra out of it and put it somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, there is a big discussion about how it came to be. There are two different opinions. The first one is that the Sahaba did that afterwards, like they went from the longest surahs to the shortest.
No, they didn't. 300 copies of the Quran were burnt by...
No, I know. That's the Uthman.
And Ali had the only Quran that was in chronological order. He went to Osman and said, in fact, after the Battle of Yamama, the number of Hafiz al-Quran, or the people who had memorized it, had died. There was no Quran as a book.
Yeah, that's
the time
true.
of Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah, was the first time Abu Bakr and Umar.
Abu Bakr, that too was not complete. Even during Umar's time. In Uthman's time, the point came that there were various versions.
Yes.
And many of the surahs, people said, people who had memorized them died, and with them many of the surahs died. And so, because the people don't know what a book is, this is the first book the Arabs have ever seen or created. They put not the logic of chronology into it, 1 to 100. We first put 42, then 63, then 18, then 24. And then when you can't understand it, the mullah says, that's because you have Satan in your heart.
Well, there is the opinion that the chronology as we have it came from Allah too. So that the Prophet received it this way.
If it was, then why didn't the Prophet say this is the chronology?
Well, that's what I mean, like I said, there are these two opinions. The first one is that the Sahaba took care of it, the chronology, and they went from long to short. And the other one is that no, everything is Allah's will. Everything, even the names, everything is Allah's will. And yeah, there are different opinions.
Okay, suppose that were true.
But that's to me is, yeah. Go ahead.
There are many surahs in the Quran which are specific to a certain time, and a certain place of a certain incident.
Yeah.
Then not all the surahs are like the Meccan surahs.
Yeah.
The Medina surahs have specific issues, for example, adoption. There's a specific issue around it. The notion of 4 witnesses in the case of allegations of improper sex, they are based on a specific issue. How could this be an eternal book when the incident has never happened?
Yeah. Well, it's you have the differences too between Mecca and Medina, like you said. You have Mecca where Muslims were weak, they didn't have the power, they didn't have a state, and when they went to Mecca, everything changed. To Medina, everything changed. So even Quran, the surahs, the content changed.
You've got to give credit where it is due. He went with 100 people.
Yes.
Less than that. Many of his companions, the Prophet went to Ethiopia. But when the Prophet went to Medina, he didn't have a large number of people with him.
Yeah.
It is his reputation that preceded him and made a lot of people come to him. And if you look at the compact of Medina, it is not that of an Islamic state. It recognizes pagans, and it recognizes Jews, it recognizes the different tribes. And that compact law governing Medina was not applied to Mecca when the Prophet went to conquer Mecca.
Yeah.
So there is enough there to debate and discuss and bring sanity to these billion people lost in the, as I say, sands of Sinai, with no Moses to lead us out.
Yeah. I don't want to go to the details of what happened in Medina. I wanna go a different direction and ask you about. First of all, before I ask you this question, I would like to know where you consider yourself to be politically. If you have, you can take it if you want.
Where is it? Oh, it's in my pocket. You see, that's how lost I am. One second, I'll just shut this off. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, okay. Yes, sorry.
No worries. I was wondering where you consider yourself to be politically speaking. Do you lean more right or left?
Look, I am a student of Marxism, and I have understood development of human history as a continuous struggle in economic terms of people. I belong to that philosophy that it is economics that determine the outcome. Not that I'm any fan of communism, but I still, if I read the Marx and Engels today, there is a lot over there. So you could put me on the left. I've always voted on the left. I vote for the Social Democrats here in Canada. But that does not mean that I find the alliance between the left and the Islamists as an absolute most horrendous betrayal of the common people done in the name of being progressive.
Well said. That will be my next question. We both live in Canada. Trudeau's Canada.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
that just because a man is handsome,
exactly,
has never had a job, he became prime minister.
Yeah, that's it. It's like Trump.
It's unbelievable.
But in a different way, though.
People say, Wallahu lazim. It's the Rajal Quds.
Well, they say he won because of his nice hair. So that's what they say.
That's not nice hair. My hair is nice. I even look like Karl
I agree. Your hair is even nicer than his. Well, Canada became, as I see it, it became a liberals and social justice warriors Mecca. That's what it became. How do you feel about the country at the moment?
I think I think it will revert itself back to its foundations. Canada is the only Western country in which after 9/11 there was a Muslim revulsion towards the jihadis. So there was the appetite of the local population to say that this is wrong. It was only in Canada. You will not even see in the United States or Britain or France, anywhere where people said that we will not allow Sharia to enter this country. In 2005, after 2 years of struggling, we made the government declare that Sharia will be banned, both in Quebec and in Ontario. And there was great attempt by many Pakistani-based groups to bring Sharia into the family law system. Alhamdulillah, it's dead. Now, if non-Muslims had entered that discussion, we would have lost it.
Yeah.
Because there is no room for hate to fight hate.
True.
You can fight hate with truth, not with, oh, Muhammad was a pedophile, Muslims are barbaric. I'm not my father wasn't, my mother wasn't barbaric. She prayed 5 times a day. She always used to then puff on me. I don't know what magic she did to me. But I can be a Muslim and I cannot go to the mosque as an act of, I'd say I'm on permanent strike. As long as they will not have women in the front row, I will not go to a mosque.
Yeah.
I have enough respect for my mother and my wife and my sisters to not tell them go to the back of the bus.
Yeah.
So Canada allowed that to happen. So you find that it is a country where there is very little anti-Muslim sentiments. In the United States, it's very widespread. There are whispers, and my fear is, like I've been to Belgium and France and even Switzerland, where it is just below the surface.
Yeah.
And unless Muslims are honest enough to come and do the things like we did in India, there will be a right-wing hate eruption. Who wants their daughters to be looked on as sluts? And almost all Muslims that I know who are coming here, they think that anyone wearing shorts is a slut.
Yeah, that's what Arabs think too, from Arab countries,
What
from
do you mean?
Muslim.
What is it? The world's first women ever to be able to ride bicycles, to get elected to parliament, to be soldiers in an army. I mean, hats off to the Kurdish women, in Rojava, who have what I call often my kind of Muslims. Otherwise, we have nobody. I remember the 1967 war in, the Arab-Israeli war.
Israel, yeah.
Just prior to that, I picked up a copy of the Life magazine in Karachi, and I saw Israeli women in foxholes. It was a cultural shock to me that women would be in the front lines. Until I saw the Kurdish women fight ISIS, I could never imagine that Muslim women could do that. And I felt so good that finally, whatever one feels about the Kurdish community, especially the ones in Turkey and Syria, you've got to give hats off to Öcalan that he created a political climate in which men and women were not just connected through sex, but through cause, through vision of the future.
Yeah,
and
I think we need more of that in other countries too. I think it's going to be for the best.
Inshallah.
God willing. Whoever God you believe in.
I don't mind believe it or not believe it. I mean, if it doesn't harm my cat, if it doesn't, my goat is safe. Alhamdulillah.
I like your kind of Muslim.
It's fun. Let's go have a party, man.
It's great.
The Arabs created good wine, for goodness sake, and amazing poetry.
We have good wine in Morocco too.
That poet, the Syrian poet, I forget his name, man. Oh, it's unbelievable.
A Syrian poet. Is an old one or
old one, man. Anyway,
you're not talking about Abu Nawas, are you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, I would take Mossadegh as a Muslim anytime. I would take, even some of the rulers in Dubai, yes. Some of the intellectuals, some Saudi writers, hats off to them. They are coming around, but they don't have the courage. I don't know what they're afraid of.
Cutting their heads off?
Oh, cutting their head, and nobody cuts my head off. Maybe
you don't live in Saudi Arabia, though.
No, look at Raif Badawi, man.
Yeah.
Look at his brave wife. What's her name?
Yes.
Insaf Haider or something?
Yeah.
Amazing, man.
I forgot the
Look,
name.
you salute them. He's in jail now for about 2-3 years.
Well, if they would apply the law they believe in, they would kill him because it's apostasy.
Yes, but then there are people like us also who will be on the streets.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what the whole pressure
Yeah,
is what
and his wife, his children. These are
yes,
brave people.
100%.
When Saudi women act, I heard that there was a princess. She took my book, The Tragic Illusion of an Islamic State, and smuggled them inside Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay.
She thought I was Egyptian writer. Then a friend said, no, he's Pakistani. He said the look on her face was, oh, they write books. I thought they only drove cabs.
We're all aware of what's going on in Europe. Terror on a daily basis almost. The radicalization of the Muslim minorities there. Most of them originates from North Africa, unfortunately. Yes. I am from North Africa. Mm-hmm. When I look at Europe and then look at Canada, I can't help but think that Canada is repeating Europe's mistakes.
It is.
Do you share my concern?
Yes, I agree fully with you.
Yeah. So
there's only one difference.
Yes.
Europe is very close to Al-Afrique, or as it was that Roman province.
Yeah.
So it's next door.
Yes.
And if I was Spanish or Italian, I would just give up all North African territories, like, how do you pronounce it? Ceuta or Quetta? The enclaves in...
in Morocco, Ceuta.
Yeah. I would just give up and say, Alhamdulillah, Khuda Hafiz, Ma Salama, goodbye.
You really think that's the problem?
I think there's a foothold, and I think that until and unless you elect a Le Pen, where you can then discuss the real issues, or someone like the Dutch politician, no matter whether you're right or wrong, right or left. The point being, Hisham, that we are in the Third World War. Mm. If you recall the Second World War, which was a war against fascism, you had Roosevelt and Stalin on the same table. You had Ho Chi Minh, Mao Zedong, and Chiang Kai-shek. You had Senegal and Ethiopia and Albania fighting all together. At that time, the high moral ground was that no to fascism.
Yes.
I think today we need a grand global alliance which says no to Islamofascism. Religion is your right in your home. Your laws will never, ever be made by some divine authority who sends email saying that's the new law. No. And the main responsibility is on Muslims, whether they are religious or ex or whoever, to say, we carry this cross, we carry this burden. We have been put in a position where we can best fight the jihadis, not the non-Muslims, not the Americans who go to football games and auction players, or go to the stupidest places. They are more enthusiastic about cars and movies rather than anything else. And while at the same time, if you seem to be quite young, Paris used to have a red belt around it in the 60s and 70s, where the French Communist Party used to win the seats. Today, that is the green belt, in which the jihadis and the Islamists control everything. And you cannot let that happen.
Very well said. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Tarek Fatah.
Take care.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much.